It is Thursday, May 28th. I'm Sam Seder.
And I'm Lucie Steiner. Which one of these stories will you be talking about today?
Multiple crises are unfolding with China as it engages in a border standoff with India and cracks down on protests in the streets of Hong Kong. Also, 100,000 Americans, per the official figures, have now died from COVID-19. As cases climb, why are Democratic governors reopening their states? And lastly, demands for accountability grew in what Congresswoman Ilhan Omar called a police murder in Minneapolis. Protesters there took over a police station last night in a show of outrage over the killing by suffocation of an unarmed black man, George Floyd.
You're listening to Majority.fm's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
As of yesterday, at least 360 people had been arrested in resurgent protests in Hong Kong. The central government in Beijing passed a new law restricting speech, assembly, and political autonomy for the former British colony. Beijing says the law is necessary to counter foreign interference. And however the U.S. was already mixed up in the Hong Kong protests, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo yesterday threw gas on the fire. Pompeo sent a notice to Congress saying Hong Kong should no longer be considered autonomous. This is a prelude to diplomatic escalation. We could see more trade restrictions like higher tariffs and sanctions on Chinese officials. We could see visa restrictions. We could see more than that, depending. Pompeo's counterpart, Chinese Foreign Minister Zhao Lijian, said the country would, quote, take necessary measures to fight back against the U.S. However the diplomacy plays out, it's not a good time for the people of Hong Kong. Beijing has ordered thousands of armed police into the streets. They've shot pepper spray into crowds and are rounding up and detaining dissidents and students again. At the same time, China is engaged in a simultaneous border dispute with India. Both countries are sending large numbers of troops to a contested area in the Himalayas. Each has claims about why the other made them do it. Yesterday, Trump said he'd be willing to mediate the border dispute as though anyone asked. China certainly wouldn't see him as an honest broker. America's relations with its largest trading partner keep getting worse under Trump. And this is no accident. He needs a great big scapegoat to distract from his failure to protect Americans from the coronavirus. What bigger scapegoat than the world's most populous country? The official pandemic death toll in the U.S. passed 100,000 yesterday. More people have died in this country from COVID-19 than any other in the world. And that's entirely because of the failures of our government, mainly in the White House, but to some degree at every level. Experts have reminded the public that those numbers are too low for a variety of reasons, from statistical manipulations to lack of testing and reliability problems with the tests themselves. Cases continue to rise as states reopen. California has become one of 4 states after New York, New Jersey, and Illinois to report 100,000 corona cases. State health officials there took the opportunity to deliver a grim warning. We are reopening too quickly. As Public Health Officer for Santa Clara County, Dr. Sarah Cody led the campaign for a shelter-in-place order in the San Francisco Bay Area. That March 16th decision was one of the earliest lockdown orders in the country and became the model for similar orders elsewhere. But now Governor Gavin Newsom is letting some counties reopen, and Cody says this will lead to a surge in cases. She says politicians need to wait for at least 14 days after lifting restrictions to see if new cases subside. But American politicians aren't heeding this advice. Instead, they're listening to business owners who want their workers to ignore the risk and don't want to pay taxes to subsidize their wages during the pandemic. According to the Los Angeles Times, the Bay Area has a coronavirus death rate of 6 per 100,000 residents. In New York, by contrast, the virus has killed 149 people for every 100,000 residents. That's because Newsom listened to Cody before. Government actions matters, and what good work has been done to save lives in spite of Donald Trump could be undone because Democratic governors got scared about keeping campaign donors happy.
Majority.fm's AM Quickie is fueled by JustCoffee.coop. Just Coffee is a worker-owned coffee roaster based in Madison, Wisconsin that has sponsored the Majority Report for nearly a decade. Check out their collection of fair trade roasts, including our own Majority Report blend. And regardless of what you order, receive 10% off your order when you use the code MAJORITY at checkout. And all shipping is free. That's coupon code MAJORITY at JustCoffee.coop.
The chorus demanding accountability in the police killing of George Floyd is getting louder. Yesterday, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Governor Tim Walz. Mayor Frey said the county attorney should bring charges against the arresting officer, Derek Chauvin. Videos showed Chauvin suffocating Floyd with his knee on Floyd's neck for 9 minutes as other officers look on. Representative Omar said the officer who killed Floyd, a 46-year-old black man recently laid off from his job at a restaurant, should be charged with murder. Someone had called the police on Floyd, claiming he had passed a counterfeit $20 bill. Yesterday, the Minneapolis Police Department fired 4 officers involved in Floyd's killing. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was reportedly investigating, but none of this was enough to quell growing public disgust with police violence against black and brown people. Protests continued for a second night in Minneapolis, with riots ongoing. Governor Walz said, quote, "Our feelings of anger, anguish, and disillusionment are justified," end quote. Police once again shot tear gas and rubber bullets into the crowds indiscriminately. Angry locals took over a Target and Arby's in a Dollar Tree. They also took over a police station, which is not something you see every day. Diverse assemblage of rioters threw bricks and broke windows at the city's 3rd Precinct station, where the officers who killed Floyd were based. As night began to fall, some got inside and took over the building. At last report, police were still dealing with that situation and with arsons in the immediate area. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Black Lives Matter protesters demanding for justice for Floyd's murder shut down the 101 freeway. California Highway Patrol car drove through a crowd. Video shows the crowd surrounded the state police vehicle on the freeway. It then accelerated after several people were already on the hood. At least one person was injured. It's hard to miss the contrast in the police response compared to the recent armed takeovers of multiple state capitals by white, Trump-supporting organized fascist groups. There was no official count of the arrests, so you can credit the Chinese Communist Party with more transparency than some American police departments.
And now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker Quickie.
Anthony Fauci is now the first Trump official to clearly say that the president's favorite miracle cure does not work. Federal Infectious Disease Director went on CNN last night and said the evidence against hydroxy as a COVID treatment was becoming clear. France this week banned the use of hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID-19. The World Health Organization also paused its trials. Now it's going to be a big scandal that an American official dared tell the truth just because one corrupt idiot has a personal interest in the matter. A new book by 2 young conservative journalists claims that Bill Clinton was having an affair with Ghislaine Maxwell, alleged accomplice to the sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The book, A Convenient Death, will be published by Penguin Random House, so a libel lawyer at least took a look at the claim. The source was reported to be someone who, quote, witnessed the relationship, end quote. It was all reported by the New York Post yesterday, and the book comes out on June 2nd, so expect a Trump tweet around then. Police in Brazil raided more than 24 key online boosters of the president, Jair Bolsonaro. The president's son, Carlos, is reported to be a key figure in a well-funded propaganda ring being used to attack political opponents and intimidate dissidents. Opposition politicians praised the move, but the regime said it was the victim of a left-wing attack. Several pro-Bolsonaro lawmakers were targeted in the police raids, along with political operatives, at least one far-right blogger, and a real estate tycoon. Trump's new campaign chief of staff had one big qualification, or so it seems. In 2016, she was arrested and charged with conspiracy to violate state election laws. Business Insider broke the story last night. Campaign official Stephanie Alexander got promoted on Tuesday from her previous job. Charges were dropped without explanation in 2017 to the dismay of investigators. Alexander allegedly participated in a scheme to conceal dark money donations. Crime was discovered through text messages after her Republican operative boyfriend got busted for cocaine.
Quicker Quickie.
That's all for the AM Quickie. Join us live this afternoon at noon on The Majority Report or later as a podcast, wherever your podcasts are found.